Hi everyone, Teresa Grant here, TG Financial Coaching, coming to you in another video to talk about one of the things that you work so hard for every day, your money. In this video, I want to talk about one of the preparing for your taxes, preparing for tax season. Today, we want to talk about mileage deductions. I know if you're a real estate agent or someone who drives for a living, you're very familiar with mileage deductions. So, but you know, as I do, I like to kind of always give you an example, show you some numbers on how it works for you in your everyday finances or your day-to-day spending. So let's get right to it. The IRS changed the mileage rate for the second half of 2022. It went up by 4 cents. So now mileage deductions as a business owner, and you drive for a living, you can now deduct your miles at the rate of 62.5 cents for every mile that you drive. So let's go to the website and take a look at what I'm talking about, and then I'm gonna show you a little mileage calculator that I created that you can actually just punch in your miles. It's going to calculate and show you the various amounts that you can deduct based off of the types of mileage that you enter. Here we go. All right, so right here you see IRS increases the mileage rate for the remainder of 2022. For the final 6 months of 2022, the standard mileage rate for business travel will be 62.5%. And they did this because, as you can see right here, the IRS is adjusting the standard mileage rate to better reflect the recent increase in fuel prices. And if you drive at all, you know the fuel prices have gone through the roof. So as a way to counter that, for those who drive on a daily basis, they have increased the deduction that you can use for standard mileage, which is 62.5% for every mile that you drive. And you may be thinking, so what? That's no big deal. But again, if you are a person that drives for a living, you know that is one of the best ways to get your money back when it's time to file your taxes. Mileage deductions is one of the greatest deductions that if you can take advantage of, that is one of the greatest deductions out there. So so let's get some numbers. And I like to use simple numbers. So I want to show you just an idea that if you are not monitoring your mileage or tracking your mileage from when you drive, you may be leaving a whole lot of money on the table. And we don't want to leave money on the table, especially money that you've already worked for. You don't want to give tips to the IRS. You want to get as much money back as you can, or pay as little as you have to, pay as little as you can have to in order to fulfill your tax obligation. And of course, like I said, you can see right here, this is directly from the IRS page. Like, I'm not making anything up. You can go right to irs.gov. So first, let's just take a look at the various types of mileage that you can deduct. So you see here, this little handy dandy calculator that I created. And now, you know, of course, people are getting back into driving quite a bit because we're back out into the world post-pandemic. So the first one I want to touch on, because this is one that is very uncommon, and this is actually one that a W-2 employee can take advantage of. And it's if you have a second job. And most of you say, no, you can't deduct mileage from driving to work. And wrong. I said second job. So, and again, I'm not just telling you something that's not written in black and white. IRS.gov, publication 463, figure B. I'm going to give you a visual straight from the IRS page. Straight from the IRS page. IRS publication 463, figure B. When are transportation expenses deductible? And hopefully you can see this. But right here you see second job. So let me give you a tangible example. So say you're a school teacher and you have some financial goals this year that you want to, I don't know, save for a elaborate vacation, or you want to pay off some debt, or you want to increase your savings. So you decided that you're going to get a little part-time job after school. So what this says is right here, you see this arrow right here, your regular job as a teacher, and say you stay after school for a little while, get some paperwork done, eat your little, early dinner, and you head off to your second job. The mileage from school to your second job, if you do not go home, school to your second job, look at that, always deductible, always deductible. So again, you're going from your regular or main job to a temporary work location or a second job. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong arrow. Going from your main job to a second job. Again, always deductible. Or even say you're going from a temporary work location to a second job. Again, always deductible. Right here. Now, these are the two, as I said before. When you go from home to work, never deductible. You just drive from home to work, it's not deductible. But if you go from home, and then if you go from home, so say for instance, you leave work, you go back home, then you go to your second job, unfortunately, that's never deductible. But if you go from your primary job directly to a second job, that mileage is deductible. So say like I said, you have some goals and you decided that you're going to work a little part-time job for a few hours before you go home. You drive directly from your main job to that second job, work 2 or 3 hours, and then you go home. This right here, IRS publication 463, figure B, always deductible. Okay, so now let's put some numbers to this. All right, so second job. So say from January to June, we're going to use easy numbers here. We're going to use, easy numbers. So say you had a second job for the first part of the year. And remember, the new tax rate is only for the second half of the year. So from January to June, the mileage that you can deduct, or the rate that you can deduct per mile, is 58.5%. And then from July to December, it is 62.5%. But again, we just want to give some easy numbers. So say out of the whole year, you drive 1,000 miles from your primary job to your secondary job. So the first part of the year, you drove 500 miles. The second part of the year, you drove 500 miles. Again, this is your second job. You left your primary job and went directly to your second job. And that equates to, I don't know, a few miles both ways, So, and then second half of the year, you drove 500 miles. Whoops, 500, not 5,000. All right, so see right there, you already can deduct almost $600, or a little over $600 actually, you can deduct. Again, this is if you had a second job and you drove directly from your primary job to that second job, that mileage is deductible. IRS publication 463, figure B. Okay, now this one is very common. Of course, this is business mileage. Like I said, if you're a real estate agent, or Uber, Lyft, all those things. You drive for a living, and you decide that you're going to use your mileage as your tax deduction at rather than the actual expenses that you spent on your vehicle. So say we're just going to, again, make numbers simple. Say you drove 1,000 miles for business. The first part of the year, you drove another 1,000 miles the second half of the year. Okay, right there, you already racked up $1,800 almost, because you've driven 3,000 miles in the course of a year between driving to your second job and driving for your side business, if you have one. Okay, so let's say you volunteer. You have what they call charitable miles that you can write off. And right here in my notes, you see an example of charitable mileage includes driving to a work site to help build a home for a charitable organization, or delivering meals on behalf of a charitable organization, or driving to the office of a charitable organization where you work as a volunteer. Again, these are charitable miles. Now, the charitable miles did not change. The charitable rate for mileage deduction did not change. It is 14 cents for every mile that you drove. So say in the course of a year, you went to Habitat for Humanity or something, and from your house, over the course of a year, you drove like 100 miles. You drove 100 miles for the first part of the year. You drove 100 miles the second half of the year. Yeah, so you just punch in this. Again, this is a handy dandy little way, and you would just take this to your CPA or whoever does your taxes, and then all they would have to do is just punch in the numbers. And of course, you have a mileage log or a way for you can show proof that you drove these miles. Okay, another type of mileage that you can deduct is what they call moving miles. Now, unfortunately, this one is very limited. It is limited to only active duty members of the military that can deduct these miles, and it's usually related to a PCS, or permanent change of station. But again, you want to look at all these opportunities. The whole idea is to try to get some of your money back, or pay as little in taxes as possible, because you have these legal deductions that are spelled out for you in the IRS publications, or going to irs.gov. Okay, so moving. So say, for instance, you had a PCS and you drove, I don't know, of course, you probably did PCS twice in a year. So let's just say you did 500 miles the first half of the year. You moved the first half of the year. You didn't drive anything the last half of the year. So we just got 500 miles for moving. Then lastly, you have what they call medical mileage deductions. And oh, my bad. So the rate for moving and medical did change. The first half of the year, it is 18%, and they increased it by 4 cents. And then the second half of 2022, the rate is 22%. So unfortunately, you weren't able to take advantage of, in this example, you weren't able to take advantage of moving mileage for the second half of the year at the higher rate. But hey, you still are able to take advantage of that 18 cents per mile the first half of the year when you PCS. Okay, so and lastly, we have what we call medical mileage deductions. And it said if you use your car for medical reasons, you may be able to deduct mileage. Medical reasons include driving to the doctor, hospital, or other medical facility, driving a child or other person who needs medical care to receive medical care, driving to see a mentally ill dependent if the visits are recommended as part of treatment. You can also deduct parking fees and tolls as well. Again, this is examples of what you can deduct when you're taking the medical mileage deductions. And again, you you would need to go read this in detail. I just wanted to give you a highlight so that you can determine if you're able to take advantage of these deductions and, again, either receive some money back from where you overpaid the IRS or minimize your tax liability for 2022. Okay, so say for instance, I don't know, this year you had to go back and forth. You were, having to different medical procedures, so you had to go a little bit more than normal. Again, we'll keep it simple and say 200 miles the first half of the year and 200 miles the last half of the year. Again, as you see right there, if you had all of these scenarios, that is a $2,000 deduction. Now, if you do not itemize or you feel like it takes too much time, tell me if you would just leave $2,000 laying on the table. If I came here and laid down 2,100 bills, would you just walk away and leave them there? No, you would not. So, just like with anything else, when it comes to money management, you got to look at all the avenues to save the money that you work so hard for every day. And a part of that savings is tax deductions. Pay attention to what you can take advantage of and use it. This is legal. It's right there on the IRS website. And if it applies to you, I wouldn't just walk away, because again, and as you can see in this example, you will be leaving $2,000 on the table. I don't think you want to do that. You work hard for your money. You don't want to just throw it away. So, hey, hopefully this is helpful. Again, this is Teresa Grant, TG Financial Coaching. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.